Okay, so we are live here. Hi, friends. I'm back with our series of Influencer Speaks, and today we have with us someone who doesn't need an introduction if you are in Holland, and especially if you are from India. She
Thank
has
you.
been a TEDx speaker. She has represented India to the royal family here in Holland. And without wasting any more time, I will quickly introduce Ritika Mehra to you. Uh, Hi, Ritika.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. I'm good, and how are you?
I'm okay. Thank you so much for having me and for interviewing me and taking the time out as well. It's really an honor, honestly.
It's our honor, Ritika, and I know you have been super busy from the last 1 week or maybe more. And I keep seeing
Yeah,
your
sorry.
Facebook events and what all you are doing. So it's my honor to have you on our interview, and you have taken time for us.
For
Super.
sure. No, love it.
Cool. So, Ritika, let's start with like if you can give a brief introduction about what you do and maybe how did you start? Because I know a little more than our audience about what you do, but
Sure.
just tell us what you do to connect the Indian diaspora here in Netherlands and how did you start it?
So actually, so I have a nonprofit organization. I founded it, and I'm say like the head of the board. With me, we have four others on the board. I started approximately 10 years ago, and actually, it was something that I'd already been thinking of when I was a kid because I was born and raised here. And especially during Diwali time, my parents used to go to a lot of Diwali parties, and our family friends, at least the kids, were like, yeah, but we're not doing anything. We just
Okay.
sit at home. Let us do a get together. Obviously, kids being kids, it never materialized or anything. So that's already, I think, where the seed got planted. And
Okay.
then my mom, I went to an international school, so she's the head, or she was the head of the Indian community in the international school. And what I noticed was that um, ladies, other mothers in the school used to call up my mom for advice, just to speak to, which I mean is not it's not an issue. And I used to see my mom always running around organizing stuff, and it was really important that the kids understood about their heritage, about their ethnicity, where they're from. But what always used to strike me the most is, when you move to the Netherlands, Piyush, you know it a lot better maybe than some of our audience who are not living here, is that when you move to Holland in January or December or wintertime, it is the worst time to move. It
Yeah,
is
yeah,
so dark, it's rainy, you don't see a single soul on the street. So it becomes very depressive, actually. If you come from a place like, even from a small town in India, there's just a lot more color and vibrancy than what you have in the Netherlands in wintertime.
that's so
So,
true, Ritika. And
yeah.
that also motivates me to ask you, can you introduce your family as well because our audience doesn't know your background.
Oh, right.
Like,
Okay. So, my parents moved here to the Netherlands about 40 years ago.
yeah,
My dad is from Delhi, Mumbai. My mom is from Punjab. So, they've lived more than half their life here in the Netherlands. And they
okay,
can tell you really very, very well about the Dutch culture and how that's evolved.
yeah,
And I would have to say that my parents, with their friends, that generation, they've worked so hard to um, make whatever we are doing in this generation possible. The way that Indians are perceived in the Netherlands, whatever we're achieving as well in terms of work, whether it is a nonprofit or it's your proper career. I feel that they've paved a path for us, and they've set goals for us that we have to achieve higher. They've set the foundation, which is already very difficult. So we're just
yeah,
using them as stepping stones.
yeah, yeah.
I have a
No,
younger
so
brother. He's in London. Totally different kind
okay,
of personality. Very
yeah,
sharp, very intricate, and he supports us in very different ways. Like if I have to write an email and I need to be, let's say, concrete but subtle, it goes to my younger brother. Check it.
okay,
Make sure.
okay. So now we know from where those fine lines are coming, huh?
Indeed, yes. So,
Okay,
like
you're
I was
telling
saying, like
about
these,
the
yeah,
winters, yeah, the Dutch winters.
so these, obviously it's very depressing. So then these ladies would call my mom, like, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, really upset, really depressed about being here because, of course, their kids go to school. Usually their husbands went to work. Everyone had a social network, and at least you're getting out of the house. And these ladies were so, yeah, they were not having a good time. So my mom used to be on the phone with them and consoling them, or they'd be like this new pregnant mom, first time pregnant or whatever. And eventually that just grew.
Mm-hmm.
And Piyush, so actually this is a very beautiful story. So my mom moved to the Netherlands, I think, when she was 23 or something. She was newly married. He moved to a strange country. So imagine the Netherlands about 40 years ago. Very different. And then in North Indians, you have something called Karva Chauth.
Oh, yeah. Karva Chauth.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's usually when all the ladies of the house or the families, they get together and they do the thali, the puja. And of course, my mom had a few friends via my dad and did it together. But today, so as far as I can remember, for the last at least 15, 16 years, we host Karva Chauth in our house. And so, of course, there are like a number of ladies that come, or maybe about 15, 20 ladies, my mom's friends. Some of my friends come. And we will always have 3 or 4 ladies that will randomly show up at our door saying, hi, I heard as someone hosts Karva Chauth here. We just moved, or I'm just married. Can we sit with you? And my mom, like, she has this thing. Her doors, that day, the door is basically open. Ladies are coming in. Even the thali, my mom's got extra stuff to set up their thali. She like tells them, okay, this is what you need to do. And sometimes these girls are like, yeah, can we have a tea or whatever? Officially, you're not allowed. But of course, there's the loophole that if an elder says, okay. So then my mom goes, yeah, there's that, okay, just do it if you cannot reach your mother-in-law or your mom. So it's so lovely at such a small moment that maybe we don't think about. And it's not a huge celebration. It's not like a Diwali or a Holi. It's Karva Chauth. That, like, we've got ladies that I've never seen. I don't know where they've got our address. They just come to our house and they just get involved. And at least that one day, they're not lonely.
All right. I think being an outsider in Netherlands, I can feel that, like, even a small tinge of or small bit of Indianness in terms of any celebration or festival, if you find, you feel so connected and you feel so heartful.
For sure, yeah, definitely.
So from here, how did bridging the gap was born? How did the idea crop in your mind to give it a form of an organization, and then how did you decide that let's do this and in this way? So what's the story of your organization?
So actually 10 years ago, the municipality of Amstelveen in Amsterdam. So Amstelveen was officially a suburb of Amsterdam, but now it's its own city. We moved to Amstelveen 30 years ago. So we were the only Indians, the only brown people in all of Amstelveen. So 10 years ago, the municipalities, they saw an increase in the number of Indians, and they thought we need to do something. We need to do a cultural event to do, let's say, a two-way integration. So, okay. And they contacted my dad saying, okay, you've been well settled here. We want your input. We need your help. We don't know how to do this. Obviously, they have their ways, but maybe we're missing something. At that time, I just graduated university. So my dad took me to this meeting. So you have to imagine there's like the deputy mayors are over there, the mayors, the second in command, senior partners at like KPMG and other very prestigious companies. And then there's me, like a 22-year-old just out of university. I was like, okay. So I sat there, and there's an events company that was explaining to us how they're going to do the Diwali festival. I did not, I had no idea about protocol, nothing. I had no clue. So I just said, no, but this is wrong. You should do it like this. And I was giving all these ideas.
And this you're talking about how many years back?
About 10 years back.
About 10 years, okay.
Yeah. So then when we left the meeting, my dad said, those ideas, they were very good, but you can't just talk. You have to do it. So now you are the project manager. You do the event. I was like, what? I've never done this. I don't know anything. I don't know anyone. I don't know any artists. Like, how am I supposed to do this? Yeah. So the first year itself, I started building my contacts. Some of the restaurant holders that are at the Diwali festival today, they put full faith in a cold call that I made saying, hi, my name is Ritika Mehra, daughter of Rajiv Mehra. We're hosting an event. We don't know if it will be successful. Will you please keep a stall for this amount of money? And they yes said, you're a child of the community. You're the daughter of the community. We'll do it.
Yeah.
We support you.
Okay.
So I remember the first year we went into this tent. Today, the marquee is massive. You've been there, Piyush. We can host at least 5, 6, 7,000 people at one time.
Easy.
And at that time, we could host, I think, around 850 people. And so we were standing in the middle of this tent, and my dad and I were like, look, if 200 people come, it's success. Yeah, that's what we can expect.
Right.
The first year, we had 5,000 visitors. There was a line outside. Yeah.
Okay. So this was the real thing which the Indians were missing there, and that was
indeed.
shown.
Yes. So when the mayor of Amstelveen, he came to me and he said, I want to meet the artist and things like that. I said, yeah, sure, come backstage. And again, no idea about protocol whatsoever. We're backstage and I said, sir, do you want to address the audience? He goes, yeah, okay. I'm like, will you come on stage? He goes, yeah, sure. And when I introduced him on stage, this is Mayor Jan van Zanen. Today he's the mayor of Utrecht. It's another city in Holland. It was like I had introduced Shah Rukh Khan on stage. The crowd went absolutely wild. There was such an applause and a roar and a cheer for him. I mean, even it was not for me, but it was for him. And I could feel that emotion. It was so beautiful.
And this was the first time ever there was an Indian event. Like before that, nowhere in Utrecht or Eindhoven, nowhere there was.
It was the first time that an Indian event was hosted. An Indian event, so not a Surinamese Hindustani event. An Indian event hosted for Indians in collaboration and pushed forward by the local government or a government organization. So the municipality. So that was huge.
Right.
And imagine. So he had this applause, and I said, sir, we have dole players here. Do you mind dancing? And he was like, yeah, sure. So he did Bhangra on stage.
Okay.
First time ever. I got off stage, and everyone's like, what did you do? How did you do that? And I was like, I just asked him, and he did it. He goes, he's not like that at all. I was like, but he did it. I didn't ask. I didn't know I had to ask special permission, nothing. So that's actually that exact moment where I was like, we are missing here in the Netherlands a platform to bring people together. I don't mean on so many different levels. So bridging the gap is the gap between generations. It is the gap between the local Dutch community and the Indian community, the Indian diaspora. It is the gap between Indian expats and the second generation. It's a gap in our knowledge, in our culture, and integration is a two-way road. Today we have to keep evolving. You cannot say that this is the Dutch culture that has so many different influences. It might be European influences, but they're still influences. We're living together. So that's when I was like, no, we need to create something where people feel at home that are expats over here. This is their new home. We need to ensure that maybe the third generation or the expat children that come, that even though they're living here like me because of my parents' generation, that they understand what Diwali is, what an Independence Day is, what a Republic Day is, these kind of things.
Right.
It needs to be relatable to them. And we need to have a platform where everyone can come together so you can make new friends. Even myself, I can make new friends.
Very true.
So
because I know you personally as well. So I know that, and we'll be talking about it a little later. I know that you have helped the Indians here to come together, but you're also helping the Dutch people going to India with their other business needs. So we'll be talking about that as well. But Ritika, we would like to know about this event management skills now, because now you have told about how BTG started, and now how did you manage it? Like the initial days of I would call you an entrepreneur as well, and of course you are an entrepreneur. Like how were the initial days? Now you said that the first event was organized maybe just out of, let's say, luck, or maybe because of your goodwill. But the next event, like how did you plan your events? How did you form the first basic team? And maybe what are the key formulas which you would like to tell to our audience if they are forming an event management company or a team to organize an event?
So, I mean, like and you said, I wear a lot of different hats. Whether it's BTG as a nonprofit, It's not my salaried job. It's my hobby, but it's like a full-time job. There's the business part. I have my events management, and I have my proper career as well. So for BTG, the first, it started 10 years ago, and we did our launch in January. And that time, Facebook wasn't as developed as it is today. Social media was not developed. So imagine in January, in minus like 20 degrees, I used to go and flyer at the bus stops in the mornings when people were going to work to spread information. Yeah, a proper flyer, a physical flyer I printed out, and I just went to bus stops and I flyered. And I said, please come to my launch event on this and this date. It was 28th or 29th of January. Did that for 1 month. 7 o'clock in the morning, I used to go. Sometimes my brother used to get involved, just go on different bus stops. I met a lot of people. So what I learned from that initial moment is that whatever event that you do, you need to be truly passionate about it, whether it's a corporate event or it's a wedding or if it's a cultural event. You have to be passionate about it, because when you're passionate, you will ensure that every detail is looked after.
Right.
When you are hosting an event, even you're not the host. So in Bridging the Gap is a host. But when I'm doing a wedding, for example, I'm not the official host. However, I treat my guests, or I think about how my guests should be treated if they came into my house.
Okay.
That they're coming in, they have a place to sit, that they feel welcomed, that they feel hospitable, and they walk away with a feeling that the people that were hosting it meant something that I came. So this is also what I say to people getting married. I say, this special day is not about you. You are there anyway in the limelight. What will make you special is that when you as a bride and groom go to every single one of your guests at some point in the wedding celebration or in the evening and just spend like 1.5 minutes with them.
Okay.
Just to say, thank you for coming, and because someone is taking the time out.
Right.
Free food and everything, that's all there. Exactly. All is there. You're getting your gift, not a problem. But still, they came. It's same for an event. If you host a public event, people came. They paid a price. They paid a ticket, and they came to your event.
Right.
They came for their own enjoyment. However, they decided to support you and have their entertainment when something that you're hosting, as opposed to going somewhere else. So after every event, everyone that I know personally or directly, I try and send them a message afterward. Thank you so much for coming.
Okay. So
I think that's really important.
No, that really is, and I have seen, I have attended your events, and I've seen what you're saying is actually implemented. So yeah, but so this was, I think you answered what are the key points when you're organizing an event. How about your team? Like who are the main, not in sense the names, but in an event, what do you think are the main 4 or 5 positions which you should have under you to organize any events? Like yeah, you can tell us.
Sure. So for Bridging the Gap, that's then I would say commercial events, or in our case, it's non-commercial, but let's say public events that you're hosting. And then you have, I'll take the aspect of make it happen events, whereas when we do corporate or private or weddings. So it's almost the same, but I'll give you an idea. So for Bridging the Gap, we have 5 board members, and then we have volunteers. So the main thing in both events is that you, as the prime person organizing, should not have a hassle to do any kind of work. If there is rubbish on the floor, you need to pick it up. You can't wait and call someone else to do it. You should not feel above anything so you have to be hands-on yourself. Once you are hands-on, the whole team will feel that importance of being hands-on too. I think that's also just a leadership style that you need to have.
Right.
Then, so for a non-commercial or a public event, let's call it that, you need someone that looks after your team of volunteers or the people that are working, that are not necessarily in the organizing committee. That's their responsibility to ensure that everyone is in their place, that everyone has their appropriate snack time, that things are being cleaned up. Then you need someone that does the logistics coordination. You know, is the technical team there? Is the sound engineer there? Has everyone come beforehand at a certain point So we call it like a script book. Who creates a script book to set up the stage? Because you cannot have the sound engineers come before your stage is set up, right? It's all a process. You can't have a stage set up before the location is even open and the chairs are moved.
You are trying to make a script, a sequence of what
Exactly.
comes first and what comes next, and
Indeed.
accordingly, the people are engaged.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we
logistics is
generally
one.
do is we just make a brief, let's say, list of things in no order whatsoever. We just write it. Then we think about the event, but instead of starting from the beginning, we start at the end.
Okay.
So there has to be a leaving committee, or saying a goodbye committee that stands there and ushers everyone out calmly, nicely, and also warmly. Thank you so much for coming. Please come again next time. I hope you like the event. Any feedback? Please, yes, get home safely. Buses are here. Things like that. That's very important. That's what a lot of people forget, is that when people leave, they should also know that there's someone that they can refer to, because at that point there are 1,000 questions. A shoe is lost, a sock is lost, whatever. So you have a goodbye committee. Then at the same time, you have a cleaning committee that cleans up everything, and small things, big things, whatever. But we need to evacuate area by area. You can't start cleaning anywhere. Okay, let's clean up the main hall. We need to evacuate everybody to the smaller hall, for example, so we can start cleaning up the big hall. Then people have time. They can socialize over there. Not an issue. You don't want to rush them out. That's one thing. Then you have people at the door as well during the event and before the event to welcome people in. Sometimes it's a ticketed event. Make sure you have more than enough. More than enough people that can welcome people in. Again, it's a warm hello. Please, yeah, food is this way, drink is this way, dance is this way. And here's your ticket, here's your band, this is what it includes. So that's very important. These are like the 3 aspects that we are like, okay, we have to have this in place. Who is? Now then 2 more functions. One is, like I'm saying, is the overall event manager. He's ensuring, so you could say like a project manager. He's just making sure that the people that are doing the certain tasks or head of the certain tasks, that they're all coordinated. We have to have very clear communication. And then you have someone who does the logistics. Now, this is logistics before the event. Like I said, you write a script about what do we need to get done and in what fashion, what is the logic behind it as well. Like I said, you cannot put up your speakers before you have the stage. And you cannot have the sound check before you have these 2. And anyway, you have to have the venue open. But in between, you got to make sure that everything is clean and at least part of your furniture is where you need it, so that there's space for us to work.
Right.
Otherwise, what you do is you go in a team and then you go left or right. The similar things that you do in a wedding as well. You don't have committees in that case. Then you actually work with, let's say, specialists, because you also, in our case, then actually for a commercial event, we also need security.
Absolutely.
Who's going to coordinate? If something, God forbid, happens, there's a first aid person, there's a security. Who's going to coordinate with that? What is our evacuation plan if we need it? Before this, so that's like on the event itself. And the same thing goes for a private event, like a corporate party, a private party, or a wedding. You need to have these. And the difference is, in a wedding, the welcome committee and the goodbye committee, you just delegate people within the family.
Right.
You're welcoming everyone. You're saying goodbye to everybody. These are the 2 main things. During the event, to make sure everyone is okay, it's these people. We, as an events company, we're in the background. We cannot make that personal touch with your guests. However, we are there at every corner that you turn as hosts, that if someone is all of a sudden a vegetarian and they didn't tell us before, just tell us. Just turn around, we're there, tell us. We will sort it. You keep enjoying your party. You keep getting your feedback. The execution of it, that's the event company.
Okay. I love the fact, Ritika, that how like, since we have started, you have always compared your work with your private life as well. Like how you compared your cultural events with the Karwa Chauth at your home, and now you are comparing your professional events as well with your wedding, and that completely changes. It eases my understanding of how the event organization would be. My question to you here would be, so this was during the event. What about before the event? What I mean is, maybe you would want to focus on the marketing of the event, and of course,
Mhm.
how do you approach the celebrities or maybe people who are doing programs? So before the
Yeah.
event thing, do you have any suggestions on that, or maybe some of
Yeah.
your viewpoints?
So one thing I always say is that whether you're doing a public event or a private event, always go by the books. Like whatever the laws are, the regulations are, follow them to the T. Not for any reason, but for the safety of the people that are going to be there. Again, if something happens, at least you have insurance and you don't have that liability. You should not cut corners just because it's a little bit cheaper.
Okay.
So I always say to people, take an event insurance. In Netherlands, that's very important that if something happens to a guest or something happens to someone who's working with you, they're covered. You don't want that to happen, but at least that's one, like, say, financial burden that you're like, I've done everything to cover aspects of it.
Oh, that's a very important
So
point. Event insurance.
yeah, event
Can
insurance. I'm not
can
sure how
you
it works with other countries, but we try and at least do it here in the Netherlands.
can you elaborate a little more on this? Like, what does this insurance covers? For example, you said the security of the people. Maybe if something is not working, will that be covered, or maybe rain or something else? What,
So for every event, it's a little bit different. So for example, when we do the Indian Color Festival, Holi, the insurance
Mhm.
companies are very clear that any damage by the color itself will not be covered. Okay, fair enough.
Okay. Yeah.
But
So,
if someone, for instance, falls sick, they somehow develop asthma because of the colored powder. That's also not under due. However, if after they get off the terrain or like the main where they're playing Holi with the color, they slip and they hurt themselves, of course that we will cover you for. If, for
okay.
instance, what else could be that there
Rain,
is
maybe there is rain.
rain, for example. Yeah, there's like damage because of rain or weather circumstances. That could also be it. So
Oh,
they're very specific in what they can. You have your own liability that you need to look after,
right.
but there's also general liability as well. If fire breaks out, for example,
Yeah.
you know, fire damage, how are you going to deal with that afterwards?
Right.
If, for instance, someone does slip and fall and hurts themselves very, very badly, okay, insurance is the last thing on your mind, but at least it's that ease that financially they can be looked after if needed.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, I have, to be honest, I have not heard of this kind of insurance in Indian events, but I think it should be there, or it
Yeah.
might be there, but I have not heard till now. What
Sure.
about the marketing
So
part? Yeah, yeah. Carry on, carry on. Yeah.
yeah, no, so that's something that we look for. And then before the event, what I always say, any agreement that you make with any of your vendors, your community within the people, have it written down. You don't always need a formal contract. However, have it
Mhm.
written down because then you have a very clear communication about your expectations and what their expectations are as well. So if you're giving
Okay.
someone a responsibility, saying again, like in a wedding, it's different. You don't write it. I actually do write it down. I send it to the clients and I say, okay, welcome committee. We agreed will be so and so cha cha chachi. They're going to be doing this and this, and we will expect them from this to this time. And
Hmm.
just so that on the day itself, no one's looking and say, hey, who's going to welcome the guests? Same thing for a
Yeah.
public event. Even with our vendors, if we have food trucks or something, I make a formal contract to say, this is what you are allowed to do and this is what you're strictly not. If you would like to do something in between, it's written very clearly. You have to let us know. You have
Okay.
to let us know like at least 2 weeks in advance. And if during the event you are doing something with no questions asked, you need to stop. And we have the authority to do this.
Okay.
A
This
very
is
simple example is at Diwali, for example, they're not allowed to deep fry with oil because it's a public
oh, okay.
event and it's a fire hazard.
Oh,
So
okay.
they cannot use
So they have
gas
to
and
pre-cook. They have to pre-cook and bring.
or they have to warm it up in a different way. They cannot use gas. So like when they can
Okay.
use electric fryer, but they cannot use a gas fryer.
So it's
So
about gas. Oh, I thought it was about oil.
it is also about oil, but it's very technical. We don't need to
Uh-huh.
go into that. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so so they need to. If, for instance, we see them doing that, then we say very strictly, you need to stop
Hmm.
now. The discussion, the argument, if you disagree, we can have that later. During this event, you stop. If you don't, we have to close down your whole operation because you are in violation of our agreement. But I think more importantly, you are making it a hazardous situation for the people that are attending. You're putting us in a difficult situation. So that's what I always say. Try and have it as clear and open communication and point by point.
Okay, I have one more question about your events, and then maybe we can take a 10-minute pause and answer questions, because I can see a lot of people are asking questions in our comments.
Sure.
One of my questions would be uh, the marketing part of it. Like, how do you ensure? Because ultimately, how much you have prepared or the best you have done, but if you don't have crowd turn up on the day of the events, then yeah. So how do you take care that that there are sufficient people during the event, or what's your marketing strategy, or maybe some two three crucial points which you can tell to our audience to make any event successful, especially the marketing part of it?
So I think for any event organizer, public or private, audience turn up and not turning up is our biggest fear. It is, I think, what keeps us awake at night. I luckily have a marketing background. My education is in marketing. I have a degree in international business with marketing. So I know that you need to invest in it. What you'll see in a very typical corporate, in the corporate world, is that when they do, budget cuts, marketing is the first thing that has a budget cut.
Okay.
But what people don't realize, even in all corporate life, is the marketing is what brings your consumers in, whether it's B2B or B2C. So it's the same thing you have to look in events, especially public events. You need to have a marketing budget put aside. Okay. And it has to be a significant, you're not going to do anything with 10 euros. It has to be a significant and realistic amount. It doesn't have to be 2,000-3,000. However, it does have to be substantial. And you have to incorporate different marketing media. So like social media at the moment, there's so much, it as well, Piyush, there's so much going on. You need to be able to stand out. And it's so difficult to stand out that you got to mix and match. You got to use Facebook, you got to use Instagram. If LinkedIn works for you, use LinkedIn as well. And then you have to also look at your offline marketing capabilities. Sometimes it's just old school. Sometimes it's just old school flyering, printing out a flyer and standing at a bus stop and giving everyone flyers. That really does work at times. Like I say, Facebook has become so cluttered that your offline marketing is actually becoming a breath of fresh air. What you see sometimes on the billboards strikes you more than what you see on social media. The same advert from Coca-Cola you see on social media will not have an impact because you're so distracted than when you are driving along the highway and you see a big Coca-Cola sign and then you pass a petrol station, you're like, actually, what I could do with a drink. It's the same thing. Indeed. So the same thing with events as well.
So when it comes to investment, like in your mind, what do you think, on which media do you invest more, the real media or the digital media for promotions?
It depends, of course, on the event and the kind. So if it's a corporate event, then we do LinkedIn as our number one priority, then Facebook. And then Instagram if needed. I think that's really at the bottom. And more than anything, it's a corporate event, yeah. And then we do email marketing, the client's database, that. Flyering on all this kind of stuff, not really. However, if it's a commercial event, I think the most of my money goes on offline marketing because it is more expensive as well in general.
Okay.
To put a billboard outside costs you a couple €1,000, right? And with social media marketing, if you do it well and you target your audience well, you don't necessarily have to spend that much.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I got an idea.
Yeah.
Let's take some questions from the audience.
Sure.
Ritika, can you also see the comments?
No, I don't see the comments.
Okay.
No.
So I'll read it out to you. So Arkia is asking, hi Arkia. Arkia is asking a question. Can you share how you measure your event success?
Thanks for that question. So for a commercial event, the success factor obviously is budget. Because there's so much money that goes into creating an event, and you need to ensure that at the end of the day that you at least come out at break even. Profit is always nice, however, break even. And if you're not, and if you might be doing an event and you already think that, I'm not going to reach a break even point, you need to decide for yourself to what capacity can you take on a loss.
Okay.
Are you happy with 200 euros as a loss?
Mm-hmm.
But if we have an event hall for 1,000 people, and if you get only 200 people there, it's not worth it because that atmosphere will not be there. So you need to look at, okay, if we invest a little bit more, but we're going to make a loss of 300, but if we just do this, we're going to get 700 people there.
Mm-hmm.
Then we say, okay, do it. That 200 euros capacity for lot is not a big deal. For a private event, go ahead.
No, go on.
For a private event, the success factor is, it's a little bit more difficult, but to see in your process planning, like it's more project management, how smoothly did that process go? And with our clients, are they happy with the end result? Do they feel like they had a somewhat stress-free event?
Okay.
They should felt that they got their money's worth.
Right. So yeah.
By hiring us in.
Very true. So, Ritika, that crops a question in my mind. Does the insurance company take care of your ROI as well? Like, if you can tell them that, hey, I invested 1,000 euros and we got only 500, this is not taken care by the insurance company.
No. Okay. Because that's your own risk.
That's your own risk.
Yeah.
Cool. So, Arke, I think you got your answer. Let's take another question. Richa is asking a question. Let me show her comment. Have you ever gone over budget? How did you deal with it?
So yeah, of course you go over budget because you get slightly enthusiastic, especially if someone like me, I get very excited about things. And luckily my team also knows me. I have a very good treasurer in Bridging the Gap who's also an accountant. And we work together. We work very closely together. And we make an initial budget and we say, okay, we think these approximation, everything will cost. Then you get the real-time cost. And of course, sometimes some things are more expensive than you anticipated, or you need to do more to create the event. For instance, you need to hire a tent and the initial quote that you got was for 250, but they say, yeah, but you need to put waterproofing, which we didn't realize. That's an additional, whatever, 250. These are just random examples. Yeah, how do you deal with that? Again, you have to look at what is the loss capacity that you're willing to take on. If you really think that, this is not going to work out, we have to also do a lot of fundraising for our Bridging the Gap event. So we look for sponsors and things. So you maybe look, okay, where is it that I can raise money? Bridging the Gap, because it's something so close to my heart, that if we ever come into the loss, I happily put it from my own pocket. But again, I have to see how much am I happy to put from my own pocket.
Yeah.
200, like 50 euros is very different for something like 10,000 euros.
Absolutely.
Is 2,000 euros something I'm happy to put in? Yeah, most probably, because it's my passion.
Right. So,
but you have to see what your financial.
Yeah. Richa, I think you got your answer here. Let's take a few more questions. Ankit Singh, Ankit is asking, how profitable is the event industry in Netherlands?
That's a tough one. It depends.
Ankit is a business mind.
Yeah, I can understand that. So I don't know how to answer that actually. It depends. So from the non-profit point of view, when we're doing things for Indian expats, it's not profitable. Reason being is because it's a somewhat smaller community, and over here, overheads are quite expensive. In India, for example, or in Asia, labor is one of the cheapest assets you could have, I think. Whereas in the Netherlands, it's one of the most expensive.
Very true.
Creating design work and printing over here is also so expensive that you sometimes think, is it really worth printing out banners? Can we just do without? Can we invest somewhere else? So, it depends on, of course, what your budget is, what your footfall is as well. But when you're looking at, only Indian events, I would say it's not profitable. And that's where I'm lucky because we're a non-profit organization that we don't need to focus on that.
Yeah. Ritika, when I attended one of the Holi and Diwali, Holi and Diwali festivals, I had this thing in mind that the event organization in India, in Netherlands, will have all the expenses, which are all Dutch-based expenses, which you just told, the design work and all those things.
Yeah.
But especially when you're doing events for expats, I also felt that there are few things in our minds, like because we are coming from India and we have few things which we always already know that this cannot be so expensive. But after living here for 3 years now, I know that like even a chai or a coffee, which could be only five
Yeah.
rupees in India, the best of maybe will be 50 rupees, and here you have to always pay around 200. Like if I convert it to Indian rupees, 200 or 300 rupees. So I can
Right.
understand. Like I felt like for us, if you ask me, like give me 50 euros for a Diwali event, probably you
Yeah.
won't find this much crowd, especially expat crowd, because in India, 50
Indeed.
euros would be if I might be attending a Shah Rukh Khan event, or maybe
Exactly.
yeah. So I was very surprised that how do you manage that, and now you're all actually answering it that this is completely non-profit, or it can even go in losses when
Yeah.
it comes to monetary
So so
measures.
basically, like, you're talking about chai. I would like to actually bring it to when we do Indian events. People complain to us is that why do we have to pay for water? Now, Piyush, you've lived in the Netherlands long enough. Yeah,
Yeah,
you need to pay for water. It costs us also money,
yeah,
and we're doing it in halls where the bar, it belongs to the owner of the hall owner, right?
yeah,
He's not going to give water for free. He
yeah.
needs to, it costs him money as well. They can give you tap water, but their point is no one buys from us.
Okay,
There's, in the Netherlands, so that's also a different way. When you do an event, their largest return on investment comes from the bar,
okay,
where an Indian event, your largest return on investment comes from food.
okay. That's
So
so
it's
true,
totally
actually.
different. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's so different. So then when someone says to me about I have to pay 2 euros, so that's maybe like 150 rupees, right?
yeah,
Uh, for
yeah,
water, and I'm like, yeah, I was born and raised here, so for me this is totally normal. I
yeah,
don't understand. For a very long time, I couldn't grasp like why is this an issue for you?
yeah,
Now, of course, I understand like this. I go to India a lot. Don't get me wrong, but I understand that in India, of course, if you ask for water, if you go into someone's house, right, they ask you what would you like to drink. You say,
right,
I'll have water. But water is anyway going to come out. What do you want to drink after that? Water is their staple.
yeah.
In the Netherlands, it's a different culture. Water is also a drink.
That's what when I talk to my parents and I tell them this story, I always tell them that you can right now as an individual we feel very good that a chai costs only 5 rupees, but
Hmm.
think that the chai wala in India is poor because of this, and
Yeah.
in Netherlands no one is poor because there is an equality of life. So no, it's not about a small job or a big job. Even if it's selling a chai or maybe giving water, he has to
Hmm.
get money as well to be at par of the living standards.
Hmm.
So the chai should also
True.
go up, and that's the thing in India. There are things which are so like food, for example, it's so cheap in India, but
Yeah.
that also means that the farmers are the poorest in India.
Indeed. So that's the
So
thing. Like the living expenses in, if you have to compare India and the Netherlands, the living expenses in the Netherlands are anyway higher. You're talking about a chai, right? A chai wala. So he's getting tea, bag, and milk from his local supplier. In the Netherlands, it's different. Everything's on a very, I say high level. Like, I don't mean in terms of professionality. It's like there's a process management that comes on. Even the guy's tea bag comes from a delivery truck, which comes from a warehouse. That warehouse gets it imported from an import export company. Like, there's this whole chain of command, which all
yeah,
costs. And like I said, even labor employees, that's the most expensive in the Netherlands. Where in India, you can get super talented individuals to work for you, do work, implement something for almost one fourth the price.
very true. That also crops a question in my mind, Ritika. Let me see how much Hindi you know. I am pretty sure you must be knowing. Do you know the word jugaad?
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay. Then Ankit, I think your question is answered. She knows jugaad, huh? So
Okay.
your
Oh, was that a
answer,
question? Yeah, I know Jugaad.
because if you know jugaad, then yeah, an event management may be a little more profitable in India, but do it in Netherlands, you really have to take care of your costs, because even small things you cannot just take it for granted. And everything will have a
Exactly.
cost associated to it, and there's no jugaad here. So yeah, you have to
Yeah.
take care of your
Not,
costs.
but also don't forget, India has a population of 1.2 billion people. In the Netherlands, it's
Yeah,
only 17 million. The population is so much smaller that, in India, to get 200 people should not be an issue for an event. That you can just find on the street, almost. I'm saying it very high level. Please, no one take it offensively. In Holland, though, just to get the 200 people, you have to work very hard.
absolutely, very true. You have to produce more people to get.
Yeah. It's a completely different story.
Yeah, we are not going to that part of the population. Okay, so Ritika, now let's. I want to know about the other part of gelling, which you are also doing, which I personally know, but I would like our audience to know as well. You are doing about how the business part of the Netherlands and the Indian, like people who want to go to India or from India come to Netherlands to do business.
Right.
Tell us more about that. What are you doing in
So
that area?
I am part of an organization called NICCT, which is the Netherlands India Chamber of Commerce and Trade. At the
Okay.
moment, the main board of NICCT is in India because the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, Mark Rutte, he's over there on a trade mission.
Mm-hmm.
So the board is also with them. And what NICCT does is that they encourage and they enhance and they give a platform for companies looking to expand their business or are already settled in India, or let's say expand from the Netherlands to India or vice versa. It's
Mm-hmm.
creating a platform and also, let's say, creating events for them for what is happening next in India.
Okay.
Things are constantly changing, especially with the new government. What are the opportunities that lie there for companies? What do they have to look at? The taxation system, it's so different doing business in India and doing business in the Netherlands. Forget the
Right.
cultural gap, but there's just a working culture that's totally different.
Yeah.
um,
And rules
where do
as
you
well.
pay tax? Yeah, different rules. Where do you pay taxes? How do you pay taxes? So I'm part of the youth chapter in which we look after or we assist to some degree companies that are looking to really set up from base their companies in the Netherlands or from India. From the Netherlands to India or from India to the Netherlands. Like they could be well established over here, but they're like, okay, now we want to set up a plant or a factory in India because obviously it's more profitable and we can
Okay.
produce more. That's what we want to do. So then we work together with these companies or these individuals and we say, okay, where do we think the best place for you to keep your plant or your factory? And at the
Yeah,
same time,
fantastic.
yeah, we try and enhance them. So it creates obviously job opportunities, which everyone is looking for.
Okay.
However, we also try and say, like, what more can you give back? I think an example of this, I know somebody, and he's not part of NICCT, but I think it's wonderful what he's doing. He's creating sanitary pads in India. He's put up a factory over there. Now you've seen the movie Padman, so it's similar. He's got people from the villages making these these ladies, and they sell it. However, what he's also done is put a factory in one of the jails. So the ladies that are in jail that have committed a crime, they're also making pads. So what you're doing is you're making good use of their time. You're developing a skill for them. So we also try and encourage them, like, give back something. Don't have it so, of course we have lots of IT professionals and highly skilled professionals over there, but we also have skilled professionals, but in other fields, develop their skills more.
Oh, that's true. That's a fantastic idea, Ritika.
Yeah.
Um, how can youth in India or the youth in Netherlands get in touch with you? Like on which platform they can start their discussion with you? Can you give a few examples? Like if someone is watching this live cast, then
Yeah.
and if they are interested in something, suppose they are in India, then how they can come in contact with you? You saying what? Like how should they pitch to you?
Sure. So I think the best way is LinkedIn is always very helpful. It's a it's a wonderful professional platform. Send me a message over there. It's just simple. It's Ritika Mehra. I'm not sure there's another user ID for that, but I can
No,
share that with you.
what I meant was, what do what pitch they should give it to you? Like, what kind of
I'll write that.
requests? would you like to
It
have
can be
in
very
via NICCT?
it could be very simple. It could be really basic information. Say again, I'm from the Netherlands and I'm looking to set up a factory or a plant, a manufacturing. Where's the best area for us to do it in terms of also transport, in terms of also getting employees skills, in terms of development as well. But it could also be as simple as, look, I really want to set up, I don't even need to set up a plant, I need to set up a company in India.
Okay.
What is my step-to-step guide? We're busy at the moment trying to create that step-by-step guide. And of course, nothing is ever so black and white, but we're creating a very generic one, a 101 how to set up. Same thing for the Netherlands as well. I can give you a very concrete example is that now in the Netherlands, a lot of very talented ladies are doing home caterings. Now in India, I believe it's a lot simpler to set up a home catering.
Yeah.
But over here in the Netherlands, you've got to figure out taxation. You have to have a tax number. You have to be with the Chamber of Commerce as well. What else? You need to have certain certification, like hygiene certification. Exactly.
See
You have to, yeah.
here, I thought I will be selling chaknas here. And then I applied for municipality and they sent me around 5 to 6 long documents and my chakna dream was shattered.
Yeah, exactly. Because you've got to register with the food authorities as well. And then they come and you can't just, if you're living in an apartment, for example, you can't just start a catering business.
No.
You have to have a proper industrial kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are different. This is such a big difference that, even living over here, I wouldn't have thought about it. But especially coming from a different country, you won't know until you look it up, but you wouldn't know to look it up until you have to, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So something as simple as that to as more complicated, where should I set up? Who can mentor us? My project plan is failing. Where am I failing, for example? Then we try and set you up with a mentor.
Okay. Super. And when did you start this, Ritika? Is it just a very new venture of yours?
So Netherlands India NICCT has been around, if I'm not mistaken, for last 15 years, 18 years, something like that. And the youth chapter, which I'm heading with three other guys, we started that, I believe, 3.5 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Super. Oh, I have so many other questions, but I have limitation of time, Ritika. So
No problem. No, it's
maybe
last
maybe I
question
have
you can
to,
ask me, not a problem. I'll keep it short, I promise.
my last question could be like, how do you see your journey so far? Like, if you see from a bird eye view, how do you see your journey so far? Maybe as a child in Netherlands to what you are right now. Like, it's
I
an
have to
open-ended
say,
question.
so again, when we moved to Amstelveen, I never thought it's a predominantly Dutch locality up until recently. So when we moved to Amstelveen, there were a couple of things that I never thought would happen. First of all, the city has given so much in terms of my father got knighted.
Okay.
That I asked my dad, I'm like, yeah, he got knighthood. So,
Knighthood.
so
Okay.
I said to him, I was like, did you ever imagine that coming to the Netherlands 40 years ago, that you would reach such a platform that you would be knighted?
Right.
Not at all. So if that's his journey, my journey, I'm just thinking like, I never thought in Amstelveen that we would have a Diwali festival. I never thought that we would have so many things that cater to the Indian community. But my journey in general is, I have to say, it's been blessed. I'm so grateful for everyone that has stood behind me, encouraged me, stood for me. And I've met some really, really incredible people, very truly inspirational. And I am blessed to know them. And I can only say that I know them because of the work that I do. So I would never want to give that up, because I would be giving up such a big part of my life. I wouldn't get the opportunity to meet these people otherwise. Like you, Piyush, as well. Like for me, you do so many things that I'm like truly inspired. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. But there's so many others like you that I think, oh, wow, that's so beautiful. I still have such a long way to go.
I've already told my my friends in Den Bosch that I'm taking Ritika Mehra's interview. So I have been offered treat and dinner at their home because
Oh,
I'm taking
super.
your interview.
No, but
But
I
I
have
think
to,
I
I
will
have
meet.
to really, like I
I
said, I have to say thank you to a community and to people who trusted in me when we first started out. Like I said, one call, we're doing a Diwali fest, we don't know. And they were like, without a blink of an eye, I remember those words, you're the daughter of the community, no problem. Just something like that, where I was like, I hope and I want to do that for someone else.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm touched by your interview. Not interview, it was a discussion for me, but I'm touched. And
No,
maybe
I
I'll
am
be
too. Thank
meeting
you.
you tomorrow as well on your Bollywood. By the way, Bollywood Dhamaka. But then I cannot really end this interview without asking you what else you are doing, Ritika, because you are doing so many other stuffs as well. Like tomorrow there's a Bollywood Dhamaka thing in Amsterdam, which I'm attending. I have already
Yeah.
asked the request for a couch,
Oh,
so
you did?
maybe I'll be.
Okay.
So yeah, just quickly tell us what else you are doing apart from NICCT and bridging the gap and your commercial event management. Is there anything else which you are doing? I'm pretty sure you are doing a lot of other stuff as
So
well.
I have a career as well. I'm a project
Okay.
manager myself. So I do work full time.
Really?
And
This I didn't know.
oh yeah, 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 I work full time. This is
You have to
this
show
is
your
everything
clock.
after
You have to show
my
your
God.
clock. Ritika. I'm pretty sure it's clocking 30 hours a day.
And I really love my sleep, so I'm really sure how that
Oh,
works.
you're sleeping as well. Oh my God, that's a
Oh
waste,
yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And not very well because look, I have very dark circles.
Okay. Yeah, so tell us
Uh,
quickly what else you are doing. Project management full time, and
Indeed,
then
yeah.
this.
So we've got the Bollywood party tomorrow. It's really an honor. I get to come to events as a guest of honor, chief guest, inaugurate the events. This is something that I
Okay.
really think more for. It's for my parents. I think they've achieved so much more, but I'm getting the invites, and every time I'm asked, I'm always so speechless. Like, how? Why do you want me? No, please ask someone else. So I always
Mhm.
get a little bit flabbergasted. We've got BTG's Got Talent coming up as well, the finale.
Oh yeah,
So we did
yes.
a talent competition. My
Oh
God,
yeah.
Piyush, there is so much talent in the Netherlands. So we did it
Mhm.
in over multiple cities,
And that's
and
only
those people who won,
right now. You're only doing for expats, right? Or maybe Indian
it was for
expats.
everybody. No, it was for
Everybody. Oh,
everybody.
okay.
Yeah, for everybody. So we have a lady who was a finalist in The Hague, and she's going to the finale, and she's from African descent.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we have another guy. I believe he's from French descent. He's done something with the vibraphone. So we have the finale on the 10th of June in The Hague. We're gonna see who's gonna be BTG's next talent,
Okay.
and
I'm
then
just typing in the name BTG Talent. The audience,
yeah,
please go and watch it. If you are in Netherlands, then certainly do it. If you have missed it this
yeah.
time, do it next time for sure. It
For
was a
sure,
good
because
one.
we're also saying is we've got judges, professional
Mhm.
artists that are going to be judging, but the audience vote will also count. Therefore, you got to
Okay.
be there at the event to vote for your best performer.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Oh,
your
that's
say
good.
will also count. And then for the end of the year, of course, we've got Diwali, we've got Garba Dandiya, hopefully Independence Day, another Bollywood party. Let's see. I got a couple of weddings that I need to plan in between for other people, not myself.
Oh my God. When you just said you are a full-time project manager, oh, I bow down to you. How,
No,
how, how do you get time for all this? No way.
I live with my parents. So my parents, I have to say they're super. I cannot finish an interview without giving them actually 100% of the credit. They are my support. They're the pillars. They're my inspiration as well. They're the ones that push me forward. And my parents have never, ever, ever said to me, which I know a lot of parents do, that like, this is a hotel. Treat it with this is not a hotel. Like don't walk in and out. My parents have never said that. In fact,
Uh-huh.
we live in the same house, and maybe I don't see them for 2 days. They're also super duper socially busy and doing a lot of things,
Yeah.
but they've never held it against me. Oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. They know it. We work together like a network.
Wow. Super. That's something as well for if we have Indian audience watching here, and if you are living with your parents, and if some parents are watching.
Yeah.
Cool. Ritika, we have exceeded time, but I think it was completely worth it. I loved your interview, talking to you, and I have personally learned a lot from you with this discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Okay. Bye, Ritika. And we will see you next week. We have another personality, and we will be sharing about him very soon on our Facebook page. Till then, bye bye. Take care. I'm Piyush from Page Potato. Bye. Bye, Ritika.